What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Maru's gameplay once again. It's going to be a little bit of a mix between a Terran school and a POV analysis. And the reason for that is that in this game Maru does a build that I really wanted to put in Terran school. But at the same time, after looking at this replay casually on my stream the other day, it really felt like Maru had such a clean and basically the perfect formula to TVP. Um, so yeah, I just really wanted to get it both done. I really wanted to look at it again slowly because it was just awesome. The opener Maru is gonna do is gonna be an eBay block into T-Rex, which is a really cool opener. But the way Maru executes this is he doesn't even really put that much pressure, and he just transitions into the macro game so well, and it's just beautiful to see. So yeah, here we go. For this one, because it's a Terran School mix, I should be posting the replay in the description as well if you want to look at it again a bit more slowly. If I forget, definitely call me out for it in the comments, because then I will post it. So yeah, here we go. So Maru settled an SCV at 15, I believe, which is usually the way you eBay block. And since he wants to go into 3 racks, he actually built a barracks before the gas. That's very important. Now, I said it myself too before, I haven't been eBay blocking in a while, but Maru really seems to like this build. Like, I watched a few best of 3s in him where he does it multiple times in the same series. Now, if you guys are wondering what is good about this because it just gets denied, well, a lot of the time, well, first of all, it pulls the Protoss out of their comfort zone. It makes it a bit more awkward for them, because this looks, he pulls 4 probes and it's done. Sometimes they even take another Nexus, but it definitely throws them off and it ruins their build. In this case, for example, since Maru is going to follow with the 3 racks, what if Hearthstone went for a 1-base Stargate instead, which is common? Then all of a sudden it's really good for Maru, right? And even this, like, it's very annoying for the money. He hasn't started, like, any units so far. Like, it's just a bit annoying, and that's it. And at the same time, Maru is going to go for a reactor first at home. What I did find very interesting is that the replays I saw of him, he always played CC on the high ground with this. And I guess it makes sense for a few reasons. First of all, the most important reason obviously is that the Protoss simply cannot scout what you're doing. If a Protoss would see this, there could be a factory, there could be a command center, a second gas, there could be anything. But instead, it's a very economic opening. Maru put out of gas. I always tell you guys, if you play builds like 3 racks and stuff, always make sure you play around with the saturation. You cut out of gas until you have 16 on the minerals, and then you rally back into gas like that. Keep in mind, if you really want to see the specific times of how Maru does it perfectly, make sure to check out the replay yourself. But that's a very general rule. If you want to cut gas, you just cut so you have maximum mineral saturation, as you can see, 16 out of 16. And then the rest goes into the geyser. And you see he does it perfectly as well. If he wants to make an extra barracks, he takes one that would go into the gas, not one from the minerals, right? And another reason to make this wall off, by the way, is just that you don't have to make a bunker early. Because as you can see, Maru right now has no money. If he made a bunker, his other barracks would have been late. And yeah, it just sucks, right? And the reason why you need a bunker is in case the opponent makes a stalker, they will literally kite your marines into infinity. Which means you either need to be on the high ground or have a bunker. And Maru's going to save himself 100 minerals by building that CC on the high ground. Now after the 3 racks, he's going to throw down his second gas. And this build is very common, by the way. Like, not necessarily the eBay block part, but the 3 racks part is very common. I don't know if it's the best build or not. I feel like it's a kind of build that works super well for some people and not so well for others. So I definitely recommend to have it in your repertoire, your builds that you can execute in any case. Now, this move is something I see Korean Terrans do a lot, but I'm not so sure about it myself. They just really like to move out with 6 Marine and get like a random punishment. Like maybe if the Protoss being greedy, like maybe they're going for a DT drop, which is a pretty greedy build, they move out. But I do feel like this brings some unnecessary risk to the build. I feel like players like Maru, they just have those perfect reads and they can, it's almost like they feel what the opponent is doing, right? Well, personally, I would be careful with doing this move. Like, I haven't really captured it myself. Like, sometimes you just find stalkers and you lose some marines for free. It's just, a little bit of a risky move. I see Cure and Maru do it a lot though, so it's worth experimenting around a bit. Now, obviously, the follow-up to this is very simple. You just get a cloud on both the new barracks. You get Stim first. Don't accidentally get Combat Shield first, because Stim takes longer, right? You get Stim first and then Combat Shields. Now, one actually important thing that I have to tell you guys. You see that Maru is only making Marines, right? The reason he's only making Marines for the most part is because he saw the battery with 3 Adepts. If he sees Stalkers, for example, then you know it could be a Blink opener, right? But if it's 3 Adepts plus a battery, the chance that it's actually Blink is very, very low. So he's just making Marines because it's more likely Stargate. And if you play against pure Stalkers, you actually do need some Marauders, because Marines do not trade that well against Stalkers with Blink, especially not if there's a battery anywhere. So if he would have seen Stalkers with that push, he would have started making some Marauders. But because the 3 Adepts and the battery really make it more likely that it's a Stargate, he has just been producing Marines. As you can see, only Marines. But it actually does make a difference, so keep that in mind. And he also hasn't countered any DTs. So I suppose that, you know, his point of view is if you see the battery, the 3 Adepts, that it's also not DTs. And I think the reasoning for that is that DT drop is usually a pretty greedy build. So most of the time they will only have 1 or 2 units. Because else the DT drop just hits late. Like, it's a bit of a greedy build in general. And Maru just seems to have a perfect read on this game from very minimal scouting. Like, if you look at his vision, yeah, you know, this is really funny because I feel like most people, they really want to see everything before they come to the conclusion about what it is, right? Like, they want to see the DT Shrine and the Chrono on the Twilight and the Stargate and blah, blah, blah. But Maru, he sees a battery and he sees a few units and he's like, okay, yeah, I know what this is. And this was the most interesting part about the 3-Rex for me, is that he puts so much pressure on, like he keeps rallying his units to the front, but he never actually commits. Like, at the same time, obviously at home, it's a very standard bio follow-up, guys. You get the factory and the starport and a reactor on it, so you can go into medevacs. Actually, he did take his 3rd and 4th gas really late, which is interesting. That's important, by the way. Like, gas timings can really mess you up. If you take them too late, you can't afford stuff. If you take them too early, you don't have minerals to make your CCs. So especially when it comes to gas timings, it's very good to copy these really good Terrans like Maru. But yeah, just the way he uses this 3-Rex is so interesting, because he keeps rallying to the front, even though it's a Stargate. And yeah, he just wants to keep him scared. He doesn't want him to start a 3rd. He probably also wants to force him to save a little bit of energy for the battery overcharge, right? Because if there actually happens to be no energy and Maru decides to YOLO stim in, Arstem would probably, you know, lose at least his sentries and his units. And looking at this, maybe even the game. I think it would be pretty close. So yeah, I guess I really like this pressure. And here actually makes a 3rd CC on location. That pretty much has to do with the fact that he got his gases late, so he could actually afford that, which is a really cool move. And I guess that's it for the main builder that I want to show you guys. So now we're going to switch to Maru's POV, because now I really want to see how he plays from this point on. Because I feel like this specific situation here is what I personally struggle with a bit, and I think you guys could have problems with that too. It's when you play 3-Rex and you didn't get damage done, you have like a mass amount of bio, and they already get the Colossus out. Because normally when they get Colossi out, you already have some Vikings, you already have some drops going on. But now he really just has mass Marines, and his first medevacs are only just finishing. So I really want to see how he's going to play it out from here. He's going to get his 4th and 5th barracks. This is also an important move to get the siege tanks, by the way. The reason why he gets siege tanks is because, like I said, if you have you've probably seen a bio ball beat Colossus before, but you're not gonna see it with 26 Marines and 2 Marauders. Like, the reason bio can beat Colossus is because you have a lot of Marauders which are good. If you play a build like this and you have so many Marines, you're really not gonna be able to deal with Colossus very well. So he needs tanks to avoid dying to like a 3 Colossus timing attack. This is actually very important. And that's the thing I figured out myself as well. If you play 3-Rex against Colossus and nothing happens, you have to play siege tanks. And you don't have to play a mass of them. Like, you know, there's some Terrans that play like 10 siege tanks. You don't have to do anything like that unless you want to, of course. But I think you should make at least 3 to be able to deal with any of those pushes. Yeah, convincingly enough, I suppose. Starting Viking production as well after 4 medevacs. That's interesting. Don't forget that there's also a bunch of Phoenix on the field, right? 6 Phoenix and 2 Colossus already, as you can see. Now, I'm gonna explain a little bit more as well about the add-ons. Normally, if you don't play siege tanks, you kind of want to go for 4 tech labs on the barracks against Colossi, just so you can get a lot of Marauders out. Because, yeah, Marines really don't cut it against Colossi that well. But since he's playing tanks, he's actually making more reactors. Because in this composition, the tanks are the thing that really counters the Colossus and not the Marauders. And if you make siege tanks, you actually need Marines to back them up. And the reason for that is that tanks are basically countered by Zealots, Archons, because they don't take a lot of damage from the tanks, they get in fast, right? And Marauders also kind of get countered by the same units, because Marauders are good against Armored, not against Archons and Zealots. So behind the tanks, you want to have the highest DPS possible, which are the Marines. So if you play Siege tanks, you want to get a lot of Marines out. And let's see. Okay, so Maru actually played 3 tanks, just like I said. That seems to be the perfect count. And then he's going to switch over 1 barracks to the tech lab to get some Marauders eventually. And one thing that's very interesting to note as well is that he's going to make mines after going for the siege tanks still. He's playing against Phoenix Colossus, he gets 3 tanks out, but he still makes mines after. And that's probably also because of the Zealots, right? You just need a good counter to the Zealots, because else you just get overrun very easily.
Mineral field depleted.
Now, when I was mentioning like the perfect PvP formula at the start, it kind of begins now. Because Maru, it seems like you had the perfect timings down on getting 2-2, getting Liberator range and the Ghost Academy and stuff. Like, it just all fell together. So let's take a look at that to be sure. Obviously, you always start with a single eBay pretty much in almost every game. You can't play double eBay, but single eBay is the most common. Then halfway through your +1 armor, you get the second armory and the eBay, so you can start 2-2. So far, I get it, you know. So far, this is on par with how I play it. But then he gets his Ghost Academy exactly as he starts his 2-2. Now, that's a timing that we should remember. Fortis, he also goes down very fast, by the way. That was like an 834th command center. He's also up at 72 SCVs. I feel like I'm one of the players that cuts SCVs a little bit too much, and I feel like a lot of really good Terrans do that. Because it just feels like you should get such a strong army out against Protoss fast to be able to compete with like their Colossus and their Disruptors and stuff. But Maru actually goes up to 72 SCVs on 3 base. And you could say it's too much for the saturation, but keep in mind that as Terran, you always have like 5 SCVs building something, you know, and yeah. Even though 66 sounds like the perfect saturation, 22 on each base, usually you want a little bit more so you're actually saturated. Now, this is a very important move, by the way. I explain this a lot and I'm going to emphasize it again. If you get 2-2 and you want to go for that macro transition, you have to get +1 air attack. And you might wonder, like, why is that? Because there's 4 Vikings on the field. The reason for that is that Liberators is probably the late game tool that you need the most to deal with Disruptors, DTs and stuff. And Liberators are infinitely worse when they do not have +2 air attack. Liberators are usually not even worth building before +2 air attack. And the reason for that is very simple. With +2, they 2-shot Stalkers instead of 3-shot, which obviously is a huge difference. If you EMP Stalkers, +2 Liberators will 1-shot them instead of 2-shot. It will literally save you like half the shots. It's actually insane. Before +2, Liberators are kind of trash. With +2, they become kind of insane. So if you actually have an intention of transitioning to the late game, you have to start that +1 air attack early enough. So then, and you can see how he's getting all the upgrades as well. Like, he's not necessarily spamming more CCs right away. I know he's going to do that later. But it's super important for him to actually get all the upgrades on time. He gets the 2-2, then the Ghost Academy, instantly starts +1 air attack, instantly starts the EMP upgrade. And this is when his late game tactical move outs kind of begin. Like you see, this is very important for him. I've seen this in his games, in TVP especially. He always splits the army in half. And because he's really aiming for that macro game, he doesn't want to do like one big push to attack. And personally, I think it's really smart because it usually doesn't really work. And the reason for that is that Protoss armies, in general, they are a little bit better in the mid game until you get like Liberators out, or unless you have like a big supply lead, right? And then Protoss also has the Super Battery as defense. And the Super Battery adds a lot into a mid to late game army. So if you want to try end the game in the mid game when it's like max against max like this, you're gonna need like a really killer fight or it's gonna go wrong for you. So Maru's just like, I'm not gonna take that risk. I'm simply gonna split my army into, keep pressure up, make sure there's no 5th bases, and at the same time secure my own macro game with all the upgrades that I need. So let's see what he's getting on his other barracks. 2 tech labs and 1 reactor. Okay, so he's gonna go for 5 tech labs, 3 reactors on the barracks. That's also good to know. Now, you see, +1 is about to finish, and that's when he goes with a fusion core. Like, he makes a lot of ones, so I'm just going to pause it one more time. He's going to make a fusion core just as +2 is about to finish. Second starport, actually, so you can get 4 lips at a time. And this is when the CC spam pretty much starts. CCs are very, very, very important for Terran late game. I would even say that making a lot of orbitals is the strongest tool that Terran has in the late game, like, period. For multiple reasons, honestly. First of all, it doesn't matter that much if you lose SCVs anymore. Like, if you lose all of them, of course. But if you go down to like 50, 60, it's not that big of a deal if you have a lot of orbitals. Simply because you can drop more mules. Second part, which is very important against both Zerg and Protoss actually, is that in the late game you need a lot of detection against DTs and lurkers in both matchups. And yeah, making Ravens is not really an option. It's too expensive. It takes up starport time, makes your army worse. Like, making late game Ravens is just not really a thing. And the only way to really get reliable detection is to make so many orbitals that you don't run out. Because if you only have 5 orbitals, it sounds like a lot, but if you only have 5 in the late game when it's like 20 minutes plus, you simply run out of scans really fast, and you're gonna lose to DTs and lurkers at some point. So you just have to make more and more and more CCs as you go. As you can see, Maru's already going up to 7 CCs in total, 5 and 6, and 7 over here. He's undoubtedly gonna make some more as well. Now, he just started 3-3. Undoubtedly, he's gonna start +2 air attack soon, because I said it's really important. Maru obviously knows that, so he's gonna start it soon. Liberator Rage is on the way. As you can see, he's making orbitals on those new CCs and adding another one as well. Now, if you play this double prong... Oh, he actually just took a fat disruptor hit to the face. It was bad timing. Now, you can see he's double pronging, but he still leaves defense at home. This is very important as well. Against Protoss, I feel like almost every single Protoss is going to send Zealot roundbys or DT roundbys or anything of the sort at some point. And if you have all your army out on the other map... Like, Terran units are simply not that fast, right? If you're out on the other map, you're not going to get back to deal with that Zealot run by in time. You're going to lose like 20 SCVs. So if you play like this, if you're not playing for an all-out attack, you actually have to leave some units at home at least. Now, he's making the Liberators now, so I would imagine he's going to remember to start the +2 like right now. Yeah, exactly, there you go. Because, yeah, like I said, Liberators without +2, just not that fantastic. And this is kind of a turning point in the game, I felt like. Like, he took a really big disruptor hit, and because of that, he lost his forward pressure, and now he's gonna have to defend this at home. And I really want to see this from his point of view especially, because this is a position, if you look at this, I think a lot of you can relate, is a position I would struggle with. DT Blink is done, disruptors are out, and this is the point in the game where Protoss gets like full map control. You don't really want to be contesting the disruptors. DTs are probably going to come in at some point when Harsam loses some army supply. And yeah, this is perhaps the most difficult stage in the game for a TVP. And I feel like Maru usually makes these games look pretty easy, so I just want to see how. He does have a really good army composition, by the way. He had about 10 Ghosts. He has just the right amount of Vikings. He's not quite at the Liberator count yet. As you can see, he's going to make some more, but he has enough Vikings to contest the Phoenix and the Colossi. And on this map, by the way, the tanks are actually insane. Like, if you look at this, if one tank was here, this entire area is already covered. Like, tanks here are actually super good on this map. If this was another map, honestly, I think it could even be nice to make, like, up to 5 tanks with this playstyle, just to cover everything up. And also, this is very cool, by the way. Maru actually gets, like, every single upgrade. He's even getting the freaking medevac speed boost upgrade. I bet half of you don't even know what that is. It just makes your medevacs faster and the boost cooldown a bit shorter. I'm pretty sure he's not even going to use it in this game because he's not doing like mass drops or anything like that. But yeah, he is getting it, so. And he's getting Cloak for the Ghost as well. Now that upgrade is actually important, and it sounds weird, but I think it's a little bit underrated even. Because sometimes you can legit save 10 Ghosts just by having Cloak. Like, in this game, there's no Oracle, I believe. There's just Observers. If you snipe an Observer and Cloak your Ghost. Like, it sounds very simple, but actually, I always felt like it probably wasn't that good in actual gameplay, but it is. So here, Maru gets like a ton of lips out. I thought, okay, I thought it was 8. He has 7 lips. He's making 2 more as well. And now he's going to be moving out. One thing that I do want to touch on that's very possible here. A few seconds ago, you saw Hearthstone fly his Phoenix into the Liberators, which looks like a mistake. But Maru actually realized exactly what that was. And Hearthstone sacrificed his Phoenixes so he could make carriers. Because Phoenixes, honestly, they don't add anything at this point in the game. So he sacked them to make carriers. And it seemed like Maru was exactly aware of why that was. So he's pushing extra hard. Like, he's literally he sacrificed like 1 or 2 libs already just to get the siege position, I believe. And this timing is so insane. Look at the +2 air attack. I think as soon as he's gonna siege that bottom base, +2 air attack is gonna finish, which is that has to be the most insane timing ever. Now these DTs are what I was talking about, but I think Harsem sent a few, too little or too few DTs here. If this was 8 DTs, this PF dies 100%. And this is one of the hard things about TVP. And here, honestly, Maru got a bit lucky. He didn't, keep any units back to defend it. He got a little bit lucky there that Harsem sent too few DTs. Obviously, he had a fast reaction speed, right? But still. And now, because of these libs, they have +2. This zone is actually pretty much... Yeah, it's gone. Like, there's only 2 carriers out, I believe. And Harsem just has to give it up. With +2, these libs, you cannot attack into them anymore until you have like a lot of carriers or Tempest or something like this. And just a simple siege is gonna bring Maru pretty far ahead into this game. Just economically though, Harsem's army is still insane and he's still gonna have to dismantle that. But economically, he already got himself in a great spot with a simple push like this. Now this style definitely is better on maps like this where there's like chokes and it's easier to defend. Because basically Maru, he just got himself to the spot where he wanted to with defense, right? Like, it's not like he did some crazy moves. Like, he played a very solid game up to this point. And this is what I mean. Like, look at the chokes that you can siege with these liberators on this map. He simply walks back and forth. And this is such a small choke to attack into against 7 liberators with +2. Like, this really seems like the perfect map for this. Drops a casual nuke. Actually, one thing I want to look at real quick is how many CCs he had at this point. He made 3 more CCs, I believe. Let me just pause it in case they fight. Where are the extra CC? Okay, here you made 3 more. So he has 4. So he's about 10 command centers, right? I believe. 9 here. Okay, he has 9, I guess. Which is not anything extreme yet. I mean, it's definitely good. I feel like in a lot of my games, I'll only have like 5 or 6. But he goes up to 9 pretty fast. And I guess... I mean, it seems like it's a pretty good number, right? He just added a few more as well. One thing that I got a lot of questions about, by the way, in the comments as well, is to explain when to use nukes. And I think Maru does a fantastic job. Like you can see, he just makes a single nuke all the time. He just landed one in the natural. As you can see, minus 42 probes. I think he killed like 20 with the nuke. Maru just uses his one Ghost Academy to make one nuke. And he launches it smartly when there's like a battle going on, when there's liberators killing stuff. And that's the best way to use it. If you're just relying on dropping nukes, like I know I get it. Sometimes you get like a proper highlight nuke and you post it on YouTube and you get 5 million views and it feels great. But for the most part, spamming nukes is not that wonderful. Like if there's nothing else going on, it is pretty easy to find them. What I think is really good about the nuke is the stress it adds when there's a lot of stuff going on. Like Maru had a really huge push at the top. He killed some stuff in the bottom and then he nukes here. And having to deal with it all at the same time, that's what makes it hard. So like the one nuke, well, everything is busy. That's what's really crazy. Nukes are really not something that you should just spam out. Like, of course, sometimes it's good. Maybe at lower leagues where people are not that fast at finding the nukes, it could be a bit better even. But overall, I feel like Maru is definitely the best when it comes to using nukes. Just this one Ghost Academy makes them consistently from it, and that's it. Now here, Maru's in a massive lead, but this is still 100, Protoss army supply that he has to deal with. So I guess he's probably not going to take it too aggressive. One more thing I want to touch on real quick, by the way, that I forgot to do in the fight earlier, is that a lot of people think Liberators are good against Carriers because they kill the Interceptors, but in this case, they're actually good against Carriers in another way. What these Liberators achieve here, and what they achieved in the top fight here, is that they zone out the rest of the army. So the Bio, the Ghost, can actually kill the Interceptors in peace. Why carries are so damn good is because your Bio is going to fight Interceptors, but at the same time there's going to be like Colossus and Storm and Disruptors killing your army instantly, and then you trade your entire army for some Interceptors. But what the Liberators actually do is they zone the army, so if the carriers shoot, your Bio can just kill the Interceptors, in peace. That's why the Liberators are good against carriers. You don't generally want to use them for killing the Interceptors unless it's really like, you have 20 Liberators for some reason, he has 10 carriers, and you just want to, there's no ground army, then yeah, different story. But in this case, Liberators are good because you can siege and zone the army. And that's also the best way to use them, and it's not to attack the Interceptors. If you don't have any like Marines out, like you have a very high Marauder count, no Marines, then you could consider it. But yeah, for the most part, just zone out the army. You see some pretty big storms here. But Maru played this very patiently. And this is exactly how you should be finishing a game like this. Like, it's very easy to think, oh, the Protoss army supply is small, we can go for it. But trust me, if Maru A-moved into him, one disruptor hits a big amount of bio, storm hits the Vikings, all of a sudden the tables can turn. And yeah, if there's 6 carriers camping your production, you're not getting a lot of units out, I can tell you that. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys can use it in practice as well. Love you guys. Thank you very much for watching. And see you guys next time. Adios.